So someone who have a lot of CP experience would always get an upper edge in cracking those. So yes, CP will help you in cracking those online interviews, past experiences.
Mhm.
But I didn't had any good project in my resume, honestly. So I was not asked so much questions on my projects, many problems. I was able to solve only one problem in my first long challenge.
हाय एवरीवन, दिस इज अर्श। तो आज की वीडियो में बात कर रहे होंगे हम उमंग अग्रवाल के साथ। ही कम्स फ्रॉम अ टियर 3 कॉलेज, ABES इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज, एंड ही हैज ग्रैब्ड अमेजिंग इंटर्नशिप्स एट कंपनीज लाइक Amazon and ShareChat. Also, something to note in this is like he has chosen ShareChat over Amazon. तो हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं कि मतलब क्यों उसने ShareChat चूज किया rather than going for Amazon. मतलब I talked to him तो उसने मुझे बताया कि it was better learning curve that he saw in ShareChat. Along with that, better compensation than Amazon in a full time role. Although internship में उसको stipend कम मिल रहा था थोड़ा Amazon से, but full time role के लिए the compensation was much higher. And the technologies that ShareChat is working upon are amazing. Learning curve better हो रही थी basically according to him. तो उसने ShareChat prefer किया rather than Amazon. तो इस पूरी conversation में हम discuss कर रहे होंगे कि क्या process था ShareChat का, how he got the test link, how he was able to apply for these roles, what was asked in these roles, and how he was finally selected. क्या उसकी preparation strategy थी. Also along with that, he has been a teacher at Unacademy and CodeChef, and now he's teaching at some other platform. So we'll talk with him regarding his experiences, his journey. Also, he has started up with his own YouTube channel where he put up content related to interview preparation, related to tutorials. So I'll give the link to that in the description. So make sure you check that as well. जब वीडियो स्टार्ट करने से पहले वीडियो को लाइक जरूर कर देना, सब्सक्राइब कर देना चैनल को, एंड मेक श्योर यू। हाय एवरीवन, तो आज हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए उमंग अग्रवाल। ही इज फ्रॉम ABES इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज एंड ही हैज रिसेंटली क्रैक्ड ShareChat एंड Amazon. सो विल टॉक विद हिम रिगार्डिंग हिज एक्सपीरियंस, कैसे उन्होंने क्रैक किया, कैसे उन्होंने प्रिपेयर किया, क्या क्या चीजें थी जो उनकी जर्नी में इंपॉर्टेंट थी। तो स्टार्ट करते हैं उमंग की इंट्रोडक्शन से।
First of all, thank you so much, Arsh, for having me on your channel. My name is Umang Agrawal, and I'm currently a final year student from ABS Engineering College, Ghaziabad. I'm currently working as software engineer intern at ShareChat, and I'm also a remote instructor at Scalar Academy. In the past, I have been among the top 10 educators at an academy.
Great. So Umang has been a very good friend to me. Like we have taught at some positions in the back in programming. So would like to know more about his journey, how he started up with college programming. Actually, कैसे start की, कब start की, when he like wrote his first code, and how the journey began. So I'm very interested to know about the same. तो जानते हैं उमंग से.
So when I joined ABS in when I was in first year, so उस समय तो कोई भी programming का as such experience नहीं था. तो कॉलेज में आए एंड फर्स्ट ईयर में तो कुछ भी एज सच स्टार्ट नहीं करा कोडिंग वगैरह. बट वंस आई केम टू सेकेंड ईयर, सो आई गॉट इन टच विद सम ऑफ माय सीनियर्स एंड आई ऑल्सो टेक वन नेम ऋषभ सिंह मेहता. सो ही वाज माय सीनियर हु ऑलवेज गाइडेड मी. So he introduced me to competitive programming, what it is, and we also got to know some seniors who got placed at ShareChat and Amazon like companies. So we in the webinars and all by the clubs of our college. So that time I was motivated to start CodeChef. So I started first of all with CodeChef. So I started giving long challenges there, and I really got stuck in many problems. I was able to solve only one problem in my first long challenge. So in the starting it was very difficult, but I tried to manage it all. I got in touch with seniors who was good in competitive programming, and once I continued, like I was very consistent at CodeChef. I have done CodeChef for 7 to 8 months. I gave every long challenge, and in second year or end towards end in the starting of third year, then I started with code forces. I started giving short challenges because all you want is to solve some problems in a very short span of time, because in the interview, of course, would have to solve it.
Small message for you all from Re-Level. As you people already know that Re-Level is a platform by Unacademy through which you can get to your dream job within 15 days. So they have been launching different tests for different domains like backend engineering, front-end engineering, product management, business analytics. Now they have come up with a new test for Android development particularly. So if you're a very good Android developer or you are looking forward to explore this field of Android developer, so make sure you apply for this particular test. It's completely free. You don't need to pay anything. Just need to book a slot, give the test, and score above 700. You will be getting direct calls from companies for interviews after you score 700 in this test. So anyone can apply. Batch of 2023 can apply for internships. 2022, 2021, 2020, they can apply for full-time roles at some of the amazing startups that hire through Re-Level. So what are you waiting for? Check out the link in the description below and apply right now for the Android test at Relevel.
ठीक है, फिर कोडशिप कंटिन्यू करते रहे, बट वंस लाइक आई गॉट टू नो दैट इंटरव्यूज में तो 3 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने होते हैं विद इन 1 आवर. So that time I was motivated to start code forces, and that was the point really. I thought that अभी तक करा ही क्या है, because code forces में मुझसे एक भी क्वेश्चन नहीं होता था कॉन्टेस्ट में. 10 दिन में तो आदत थी करने की, बट code forces was something की मतलब 1 मिनट में सबमिशंस आ जाते थे हजारों. तो that was the time I was really worried कि क्या सीखा अभी तक 1 साल में. But still, like, being consistent is the key after all. So I started code forces. I was very consistent, and I have done code forces for continued 9 to 10 months, and that was a lockdown period, so that was a kind of blessing for us, for our batch, because college के साथ manage नहीं हो पाती चीजें, contest वगैरह तो, but घर पे सब कुछ करा साथ में. And लाइक आई ट्रस्ट मी, कोड फोर्सेस ही करता था लाइफ में, वही था उस समय लॉकडाउन के समय में. तो 8 बजे से कंटेस्ट होता था, 7 बजे बैठ जाते थे देने के लिए कि 1 घंटे में कंटेस्ट है. बट बहुत सारी हर्डल्स आए उस समय, बहुत सारे टॉपिक्स थे जो नहीं आते थे, बहुत सारे रिसोर्सेज फॉलो करे, बहुत सारे यूट्यूब चैनल्स फॉलो करे. आई टेक अप द नेम्स व्हेन इट विल कम देयर. वहां से सीखा, कोड फोर्सेस कंटिन्यू करा, एंड like I became expert at code forces during this, near the start of my final year, or near the end of my 3rd year. So and that was really a great achievement for me, because code forces was something that was very really challenging for me in my college times. ठीक है, सी मतलब प्रोग्रामिंग जर्नी तो यही है अभी तो.
So that was great. मतलब इस podcast में you will be getting an experience of how to crack a role in a startup, मतलब a company which has a startup culture, and उसमें how the process is different from a product based company like Amazon. तो हम दोनों ShareChat and Amazon का process discuss करेंगे उमंग के साथ, starting with ShareChat, and will like to know कि ShareChat और Amazon के process में क्या difference होता है, and how should a candidate approach both of these companies. So starting with ShareChat, how did you apply for ShareChat, and like how did the process go? Like what were the number of rounds, online tests, interviews, what are some of the important topics? So would like to know more about ShareChat.
Okay, so first I'll start with ShareChat then. So ShareChat में तो like मेरे 2 सीनियर्स हैं कॉलेज से जो ShareChat में अभी काम कर रहे हैं. So when I was in when I started my final year, so that time I got an opening at ShareChat for the SD intern role. So I applied, and like I got the test link. I applied through referral from one of my seniors. So I got the test link, and I was able to solve 2.5 problems out of 3, but I didn't get anything after that. So I was really motivated to join ShareChat, because my favorite senior, like who I inspire a lot, is in ShareChat currently also. So he have done a lot of competitive programming, and I started because of listening to him. So then after that, recently, like in November, near the November end, the second senior who is in ShareChat approached me, and he told that ShareChat is currently hiring some interns. So if you want, I can refer you. So I shared my resume, and he referred me at the point. Then again, like after the referral, I got the call from HR, and she shared a test link, hacker test link. So there were 3 coding questions on hacker, which I was able to solve again. Near not third one was not complete, around 2 complete, and the last one was around 70% out of 100. So after the test, 2 interviews were conducted. First one was DSA based, and the second one was hiring manager round.
Okay. So when I say was there any part of development in the entire process? If we talk about ShareChat, like how important was development? Like your projects were discussed at any point, or anything about that?
In the first round, there were 3 coding questions that were only asked to me, completely DSA based, I will say. And in the second round, that was a hiring manager. In that, some part of development played a role, because I was asked questions on my past experiences, but I didn't had any good project in my resume, honestly. So I was not asked so much questions on my projects. I was asked questions on my recent internship which I completed. So I was asked like what I did there, and some basic questions on the technologies which I used in that company. So after that, I was asked questions heavily based upon operating systems and DBMS and OOPS concepts. So that was the part which you should really prepare for. And I was also asked some low-level design system. Sorry, I was also asked some low-level system design questions. So I was asked to explain how we can implement a URL shortener. So that were some of the questions which were asked.
Got it. Got it. So now moving up onto the process of Amazon, how the process of Amazon was different. Like, how did you get to know about Amazon's process? When did you apply? Was a referral needed or not? And what was the difficulty level of the online test? Difficulty level of interviews, and how you finally aced them?
At Amazon, it was completely an on-campus process. ShareChat was an on-campus, but Amazon wasn't completely on-campus. So the college shared the eligible students who can apply to Amazon. So we everyone got the test link, and in that test link, we were asked to solve two coding questions, and there were some MCQs. Considering Amazon, it was completely an on-campus process. So we all were given a test link by our college, and in that test there were two coding questions and some MCQs and some Amazon based like behavioral questions. So after that test, like around 90 to 100 people from our college got invited for the interviews, I guess. So we all gave the interview, and around 27 students got selected from our college. So it was an on-campus process, and there were two technical interviews in which they were completely TSA based.
Understood. Understood. So we have seen the process of both ShareChat and Amazon. Like major part, I would say you talked about was based upon data structure algorithms, or at some point you can say competitive programming. And this is also a really controversial thing. Like, is CP really very, very necessary? Because this is a question that pops up very frequently. Should we go for CP, or being very good at data structure algorithms is sufficient? So what's your take on it? Because you have a first-hand experience of doing CP for months long, and you have an experience of teaching data structure algorithms as well. So I'd like to know more about your point of view on this.
So Arsh, I would say that yes, CP is not at all mandatory, but yes, it helps a lot in cracking interviews and in cracking the online assessments. And as we all know, like competition is really increasing day by day. So there are a lot of candidates now who apply for an online assessment and who participate in that. So someone who have a lot of CP experience would always get an upper edge in cracking those. So yes, CP will help you in cracking those online interviews, of course, in cracking that online assessments. And I'll say that there are two tier companies. Okay, so for example, considering Google, Media.net, or Tower Research. So they are the companies in which the online assessment would be really hard. So the questions will be heavily based upon, they will be competitive programming oriented. So if you are, say, let's say a candidate master on code forces, then it might help you a lot to crack those companies. But considering companies like Amazon and Microsoft, they were the companies like which can be cracked by just being good at DSA. They don't require much of competitive programming. So competitive programming is basically something which will always help you in solving a question which you haven't seen before. Okay, but DSA, like if you have solved around 200 questions on some topics, so it is most likely that you will be able to solve the new question if they will be among those topics. For example, if you haven't studied any topic, you will not be able to solve. But considering CP, each time you see any new question, considering the code forces, each time you will see a new question. So you get an like a lot of experience in solving newer questions. So that will help you a lot in cracking. But yes, the conclusion is it is not mandatory.
Understood. Understood. Also, like you talked about different resources. Like, what all kind of resources did you follow when you started? Like, apart from code forces, like you told that you mostly coded upon code forces for 8 to 9 months long. But which all resources, like if any beginner wants to start with, or anyone who doesn't like who wants to begin his journey of programming, so which all resources would you suggest him for, particularly for DSA, for the CS fundamentals, uh, or system design?
Okay, so the resources which I have personally followed and which I'll suggest to the audiences. So I'll line them up. So first, whenever a like student wants to start coding, he or she should start with any platform. It is not mandatory that the hacker rank is the best or code chef is the best. He or she can start with any platform, I'll say, and stick to that platform itself. Don't go around and have 5 to 6 platforms at one time, you will be really confused which platform to choose for solving a problem. So I'll say that first thing is stick to only one or two platforms at max. So in my case, I stick to CodeChef and Codeforces during my second and third year. So I used to practice problems on Codeforces, and I used to give all contest on Codeforces. Along with it, I used to give a contest on CodeChef as well. So I stick to some platforms. So I'll suggest like solve Codeforces if you are in your second year. I'll heavily suggest solve Codeforces. That is really important, and that will always help you in the long run. So solve Codeforces when you're in second year, and when you start moving to third year or final year, you can shift to platforms. Like it is really important to solve interview related questions when there are interviews scheduled. So you should be able to solve some, because there are some topics on, there are some questions in which the required approach is only accepted in the interview. So you have to be like, while doing competitive programming, we mainly focus on time complexity, that optimality, but we don't focus much on space complexity and all. But in interviews, everything will be judged upon. So I'll suggest shift to leetcode and interview bit when there are upcoming interviews, when you are towards your third year end. So I have solved a lot of interview bit as compared to code leetcode. So I like, you can apply some tag over the interview bit, some company tags, and then you can start solving questions. And yes, you can follow Stiver SD sheet for there are 180 questions which are heavily important. Yeah. And like I'll also suggest some YouTube channels for some specific topics. So I will heavily suggest Aditya Verma series for recursion and dynamic programming. And uh, for me personally, I'll suggest some relevant topics, some important topics which you should heavily practice, that are recursion, hashing, binary search, and binary trees. So they are very important topics, and you can expect the interview questions based upon that. And the last point is, but not the least, of course, questions will also be based upon computer fundamentals. So once there are upcoming interviews scheduled, so you should always go and read the interview questions based upon like computer networks, database management systems, operating system, and all from interview bit. That would be more than sufficient.
Understood. Apart from that, like we have talked about different resources, different YouTube channels. Like a lot of YouTube channels are popping up. People are coming up solving some problems on their own, like basically teaching and putting out their videos on YouTube explaining a particular question. Right? I've seen a lot of people coming up recently. You have a good teaching experience. You have taught on different platforms. So, what according to you, like teaching in this way, is it really going to help in interviews, or like what's your perspective on this?
Like when I gave my first interview, I still remember that was of Ecolite Digital of 5 LPA package. So I still remember when I gave my first interview of Ecolite Digital, I was really shivering because of the lack of confidence and all. I really lacked in communication skills. And that was the point I realized that I need confidence while speaking, because that is the thing which will connect you to the interviewer. Because when you explain concepts, so interviewer wants you to see your thought process. He wants to see how do you actually think. He don't want to see only the solution, whether you are able to solve the question. He wants to see the actual thought process, how you are actually thinking. So while you teach to someone who don't know that topic, right? So you teach at a very ground level, and that is the point you start knowing like how to actually explain a problem. And I started like at Prep Bytes, I started making some video editorials. So that was the point I gained some confidence, and I came to know how to explain a particular problem. Because many of my friends are there who have a lot of knowledge but are not able to crack companies because of communication skills. So as much as DSA is important, I guess more than that, communication is also important. So yes, it helped me a lot personally, and there is a lot of difference between how I gave my first interview and how I gave my current interview. So uh, honestly, it seems like a piece of cake when I explain some question to an interviewer, if I know how to solve it, of course.
Understood. So this I think it's going to really help a lot of people who are aiming at companies like ShareChat and other different startups. Like nowadays, startups are equally paying well as compared to MNCs, and also they have good work culture, good tech stack, and everything. So this is something that was really needed. Thank you so much
Exactly.
for being a part of this video. At the end, any final piece of advice that you would like to give to my audience?
Yes, of course. So I would suggest don't be patient first of all. Like being rejected in an interview will always come in the path to crack any interview. So you will be getting rejected in an interview. Don't have patience, and there are some points which I'll suggest. Direct points, of course. Solve 300 to 400 questions on lead code and interview bit. Read interview questions on computer fundamental subjects just before the interview. Trust me, it is more than enough for most of the companies. There are around 50 questions for each subject on interview bit. So I'll suggest to add that in the description for the audience. And the third point is that have a decent project in your resume, because the thing is, when the interview goes on, the interviewer don't actually wants to have the complete interview based on DSA. For example, considering the startups, they want some experience as well. So you should have an experience either. uh, it can be in the form of internship, or you must have a project, right? So I didn't had a project, but I had the internship experience. So that part was being managed by it. So if you will have a project, then it will always give you an upper edge, because that is the something on which the discussion will be done for around 5 to 10 minutes, let's say. So you should be able to explain what you actually did.
Thank you so much, Umang, once again for being a part of this podcast and sharing your views over different topics to my audience. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Arsh, for having me, and I wish all the best for the audience.
I hope you people like this amazing video. For more such amazing content, don't forget to like this video, subscribe this channel, and share it with your friends.